This is my Brettonian army. Some parts of it look pretty awesome. Some of it needs some work. So today, I'm embarking on a quest. In this video, I invite you to join me on my journey to prepare my Brettonians for battle, collecting them, painting them, giving them names in heraldry, and then mustering them on the table to defend the realm, bring glory to Bretonnia, and win the favor of the lady. So my Brettonian collection has slowly accumulated over the last 5 years or so, with some careful sniping on eBay here, and a few purchases off private sellers there. These bad boys have some pretty eye-watering prices sometimes, but I've been lucky enough to snipe a few really good lots. I've also dabbled a little bit in third-party models. These guys here, for example, are Perry Miniatures' War of the Roses Billmen. The Perry brothers were the sculptors of the original Bretonnia range, so they fit in pretty nicely. The scale's a little bit different and the proportions are a little bit more realistic, but overall I really like them as an alternative considering how expensive the old men-at-arms are. Just recently I picked up this awesome set of ladies by Ralpartha, and I'm excited to paint these up for a diorama I have in mind. But here's the thing about buying used rare models for cheap. It really helps to know exactly what you're looking for. Check out this guy, for example, with his handmade banner from medical tape. But look at this, he's sitting on a rare Grail Knight horse. So let's get this guy another horse, because check this out, in one of the lots that I found, I have actually the torso that goes with this horse. And oddly enough, I bought these two years apart, but the gold crest seems to match, which is just mind-blowing to me. Here's another guy I started painting a few years ago, but he doesn't match his horse. However, this guy I just picked up, he does. I also tracked down a horse for this guy. It's much cheaper to find bits and pieces here and there and then cobble together a whole model for some of the really rare models like the Grail Knights, for example. Check out my Grail Knights. So this guy is on the right horse already, and he even has the right shield, which is pretty rare. But let's be honest, he looks horrible. So let's get rid of some of these awful old paint jobs. For metal bits, my preferred method of stripping is to use acetone. So I put them in a glass jar with a bit of acetone, let that work. Watch out though, because acetone, if you spill it, it will strip the lines off your brand new cutting mat. Another one ruined. Nice. For plastic bits, isopropyl is my go-to. Acetone would melt the plastic, but the alcohol breaks down the paint enough that a little scrubbing with a toothbrush gets it good as new. So let's put some paint on this shiny new knight. With the Brettonians, you can't just default to an army-wide paint scheme that you decide at the beginning. The number one thing that gives Bretonnia their unique look is the varied colors of the knightly heraldry. Rather than a color scheme for each unit or the entire army, each knight has its own sigil, its own coat of arms, and its own distinctive colors. Clearly, to understand this army properly, we need to take a closer look into heraldry. The concept of rulers or families identifying themselves with animals or symbols is incredibly ancient. It dates back to the deepest antiquity and even appears in the Old Testament. However, in Europe in the Middle Ages, it became common practice for nobility to have a coat of arms that was associated with their family. In the Middle Ages, heraldry really got taken to another level due to the prevalence and popularity of the tournament, where knights would dress flamboyantly and show their prowess through jousting and other acts of martial skill. Knights started wearing these ornate crests on the top of their helmet, made of wire and leather and cloth, and knights would also wear these colorful surcoats on the battlefield, and there's some debate over whether or not that was for identification, but none of that matters. What matters is it looks really cool. And it's this culture that the tall crests and the brightly colored surcoats of Bretonnia are based on. So in the real world, heraldry has all sorts of rules and conventions, and it's controlled by governing bodies such as the College of Arms in London. In fact, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Blofeld is making a claim to nobility, and James Bond goes undercover as a genealogist from the College of Arms to Blofeld's mountaintop compound. Here he is explaining some of the charges that can be seen on a coat of arms.
Now, when we authorize a coat of arms, it can include all sorts of funny things. Crescent moons, portcullises, beasts couchant and rampant, bars, bezants.
Please, what is bezant?
Gold balls. I've brought a book on the subject with me. There's a picture of my own coat of arms, actually, which includes 4 of them. If you'd care to see them.
Anyway, one of the reasons for the regulation of arms is so that you can have a blazon, which is essentially a standardized description of a coat of arms that will allow you to recreate it sight unseen. Here's an example of a blazon from that same movie.
Have a look at this. Oh, let me take your coat. Arms of Sir Thomas Bond, Baronet of Peckham, died 1734. Argent on a chevron sable. 3 besants.
Now, if that sounds odd to you, it's because there are special names for everything in the world of heraldry. White and yellow become or and argent, which are essentially the French words for silver and gold, and the colors all have distinctive names as well. Red, for example, is gules, which is based on the French word for throat, similar to gullet. And the idea is that an animal, when it opens its mouth and you can see into its throat, it's red in there. So red is gules. So one of the key rules in heraldry is that a metal is never supposed to go on a metal and a color is never supposed to go on a color. Essentially, these are ancient principles of graphic design to make them as identifiable and bold and at any distance as possible. So in addition to the real-world rules for heraldry, the Brettonian Armies book spells out some rules of heraldry as well, which are pretty similar with some additional things such as what various symbols mean. Which brings me to my rules for heraldry. Or should I say rule? Because there's only one. And that rule is the rule of cool. If it looks good, I'm doing it. The reason for this is that I want to have the freedom to do things like put red on black or black on red, which, as you know, you're not supposed to put sable on gules because of the rules, but I don't care about the rules. That looks really cool. One of my favorite book series of all time, A Song of Ice and Fire, the House Targaryen colors are red on black, and the House Blackfire colors are black on red, and they look really good to me, so I don't know why I would restrict myself to that. I've got various high pigmentation paints here where I can manage the contrast issue myself, so. But of course, another easy way to cut through all the rules to inspire your paint schemes is to copy somebody else's paint job or look at the Army's book, or just to copy a coat of arms from real life. And that's what I'm going to do today. While preparing for this video, I watched a lot of stuff for inspiration, and in Henry V, before the Battle of Agincourt, I noticed this guy here with his really cool surcoat that I really liked, and he is apparently Montague. Now, the old Brettonian Armies book had these sheets that you could print out, and you could test your designs before you commit to them on a model, so I like to use these because it's pretty cool. As an added bonus, the model I just prepared to paint has a winged crest, which will mirror the bird on the Montague arms. By the way, the House of Montague still exists. They are hereditary peers, and they hold the Dukedom of Manchester. Here's the current Duke of Manchester's mugshot. What has this guy been up to? In 1984, Montague married Marion Stoner. Yeah. Stoner left after accusing Alexander of firing a spear gun at her. This guy's a piece of... Anyways, to really pull off these arms, we're going to need to get into some freehand. The secret to doing freehand, I find, is to have a nice small brush, to thin your paints with some medium to extend the dry time, and then to break the shape down into simple component shapes first. For this eagle, for example, I start with an X shape, because this helps to block out the corners and fill in the space nicely as I fill in the extra details later on. This army is awesome for learning to paint new colors and to hone your skills if you want to try something new, you want to try freehand, you want to try a different pattern that you've never done before. It always keeps you guessing. Here's another night I tried where I did a diamond pattern on it, and that was tricky, let me tell you, especially in the folds of the horse's garment, the caparison. In there, things got really crazy, but you can't really tell, and that's kind of the cool thing. So when you have so many little canvases, you can challenge yourself to do all these crazy pieces, rather than if you had a big piece like an Imperial Knight or something, the robot kind. You might be intimidated to do the freehand on there because you've only got the one of them. Well, there's a ton of little opportunities to take calculated risks and to grow as a hobbyist all across this army, which is one of the reasons I really like it. But as you may have guessed, this army is not exactly conducive to speed painting, but that's okay. You know, YouTube tends to push creators to have these self-contained little projects that just come out and have a beginning and an end and a satisfying end shot, and that's all well and good, and there's something tremendously gratifying about getting a project done in the short term, but it can also put a little bit of a squeeze on your hobby inspiration when you are constantly feeling like you're on a deadline, when sometimes you just want to take your time with a longer project. And that's what these Brettonians are to me. So when Dana Howl invited me to take place in her Tale of 6 Warlords, where me and 5 other creators are doing passion projects based on old square-based Warhammer, I absolutely leapt at the opportunity. So I will link a playlist in the description to my other collaborators in this collaboration. Dana Howl, make sure you go check out her video. $1 Billion Clown Farm, who for my money is the funniest guy on YouTube. Goobertown Hobbies with his tremendous muscular development. Danny from 3D Printed Tabletop, who's a fantastic video maker as well. And Tyrannosaur, who actually runs a non-profit channel. On all of the profits of Tyrannosaur's channel go towards Alzheimer's research, which is a really sweet thing to do. So if you guys are charitably inclined, please go donate to Tyrannosaur's fundraiser, as he's trying to raise a big chunk of money for Alzheimer's, and it's a really wonderful thing that he's doing. So speaking of generous and lovely people, as we admire some more shots of my army, I'd like to thank my patrons, who without which this channel would not be what it is, and I'm extremely grateful to. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this project. Expect to see more from Bretonnia in the future, whether it's a diorama, whether it's some terrain that fits in the world, whether it's just another sort of video where I show you my progress and what I'm working on. But this army is a huge passion project of mine and will be ongoing for a long time, and I hope to do some big amazing things with it. So I hope you liked this one guys. If you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Eric's Hobby Workshop.